7 karınca kolonisi bir arenada.
What
abi,
happens when you
put dövüşü attılar abi.
In a highly regulated and controlled manner, where I could observe how they interact and separate the ant colonies if needed.
Yusuf vardır da şu an bakamıyorum ya. Lindleyen üstten eyvallah kesinize
leading
bereket.
into the arena with rubber ports, full view of the ant rubbing out at the head and thorax than the others. Plus she produces
bu ne oğlum bu dabbe amına koyayım.
Food with naked pupae, which is unique because the other 7 queens produce young that develop
arkadaşlar fight free merak etmeyin telif yemeyiz.
Into cocooned pupae. Therefore I have decided not to add colony number 7 to this mixing experiment, as they probably war with the other ants. I'll just hold on to them for now, and we can all decide later whether or not we want to keep them. But man, look at those repletes, will ya? The workers who have volunteered to be the living food stores of the colony, carrying food stored in bulk. See family, here goes nothing. Are you ready? Let's do this. I took colony number 1. Wow, I've always had a special love for colony number 1, probably because it was also one of the largest colonies of the bunch. Also with 12 worker ants now. But guys, have a look at how big the queen is. Last week before we gave the colony their first meal ever, the queen was a bit skinny, right? But it seems, AC family, after we fed them, it triggered her body to make that biological switch.
Yani arkadaşlar bizim hani uzaylı aramamıza gerek yok bence amına koyayım. Dünyada zaten varlar abi. Bu ne amına koyayım ya?
To full egg production mode, and her gaster was now swollen.
Bunun bir uzaylıdan farkı ne abi? Bu ne ya?
With upcoming eggs, a condition known as physogastric.
Ben böceklere karşı ilginç bir sevgi beslemeye başladım arkadaşlar. Hani boyutları küçük ama yani inceleyince süper hero gibiler amık.
I love when queens get physogastric and all fat like a balloon. It's a good sign.
Sevgi demeyeyim de admiration. Ne olabilir Türkçesine admiration? Hayranlık. Evet, hayranlık beslemeye başladım.
Many more eggs are about to come. I know a lot of you guys are fans of this colony as well.
Süper kahraman gibiler oğlum. Çok büyük yetenekleri var yani.
I took the colony and attached it to the campanosium. Once attached, I now needed to release the ants. However, I didn't want to just rip away the huge cotton blocker because the claustral cell still needs to remain as still and wind-free as possible. So to create the new opening tunnel into the outside world, I have this. A small piece of tubing. I could just fixate it to some tubing door to watch the first worker ant emerge into the outside world for the first time in its entire life. This was such a special event to witness. Prior to this moment, the ant had only known the test tube claustral cell in which it was born. But nothing was more amazing to this ant than what it was seeing and smelling right now as it stepped onto the campanosium grounds to explore. A second ant came to smell the fresh outside air. It was at this time that I realized, oh yeah, it's time to add the other doors and block the ends of the tubes with cotton, so the ants don't escape. It would also make connecting to the other test tubes much easier when ready. Eventually, the first exploratory ant discovered our sweet jelly and began to feast.
Okay.
The ant filled up its social stomach to the max, and once fat like a water balloon, full of sweet jelly, it began to embark on its way back to the colony. It was at this time that I decided it was now time to add colony number 2.
Biraz daha atsın bakayım içeri reisleri.
But didn't come out. But then something happened that made my heart stop. The full ant of colony 1 was heading straight for the opening of colony 2. Ah!
Gitme lan.
2 pairs of antennae touched, but the full ant thought twice about entering that hole and headed towards the correct nest opening of its birth colony. Whoa! Okay, so no aggression so far. That was a good sign. Inside colony number 1, the brave exploratory worker told its entire colony of the awesome food it found just outside the nest. and began to regurgitate it up to have the rest of the colony have a taste.
Geliyorlar
But
mı?
acting out, perhaps they weren't ready? Colony number 1 sent out its second scout. It crawled bravely across the barren rocky surface of the Campanosium. Following the pheromonal trail, the last scout left on its way back home, all the way to the goods. Bingo! It stopped to fill up.
Wow.
And also made its way back home. Like the first scout before it, it began to regurgitate the contents of its social stomach to its fellow colony members, and then to its beloved queen. But looking at colony number 2, there still seemed to be no interest in emerging into the Campanosium. Just a worker at the door. Want to rush? Perhaps I was... The third scout of colony number 1 made its way back to the colony with a full gaster. Man, colony 1 was just doing so well. From colony 3 kind of emerged, but seemed a bit shy still. Colony 2 still waving those antennae from inside, and colony 1 sending out their fourth scout now, who crawled across the rocks over to the sweet jelly. Finally, I spotted a worker from colony 3 getting more brave as it wandered outside the hole. Fourth scout of colony 1 was now full and making its way back home. The workers of colony 1 were just killing it. They sent out a fifth scout, which wandered around the Campanosium, and at one point I thought it was going to come in contact with one of the other colonies. But nope, it was more interested in eating. As the fifth scout from colony 1 began to head back home, and I saw that there was still no hope for colony 2 or 3 to emerge, I again made the sudden split executive decision to go ahead and add the fourth colony to the mix. Yes, I was crazy, I know. When attached, a worker emerged from the hole cautiously, with other workers behind it. It wandered around a bit, but then re-entered the nest, not willing to risk wandering further. No! That's it! I attached the fifth colony, which of course had no workers yet, and the sixth colony. One of these ant colonies should be ready to come out, but every time I made the attachment, the ants would just kind of peek out.
Abi şeyden mi acaba? Diğer koloniler hani feromonlarını falan saldılar ya oraya. Aga bu bölge ele geçirilmiş. Bizi burada sikerler diye mi çıkmıyorlar acaba?
And not come outside to forage. I decided to go all the way and attach the final colony, colony 8, to the mix. This is when things took a very scary turn, and when I began to realize that my impatience might have been a huge mistake. While I was busy connecting the other colonies, I hadn't noticed that a scout was finishing off its meal. I had assumed it was colony number 1's sixth scout. That was until it began to head towards the opening of colony 3.
Koloni 3'ten gelmiş oğlum bu eleman.
Was this a worker from colony 3 that finally decided to emerge without me noticing? Yay! Finally, colony 3 was sending out its scouts. Perhaps now 2 workers from different colonies would meet up. But AC family, I was not prepared to see what I saw next.
Ne oldu lan?
A meetup of ant strangers was exactly what happened. I expected the full scout to come rushing into the test tube like usual. But instead, I saw this. Look whom I found entering our premises, ladies. We've got a trespasser